Hey y'all, I'm Dominique, welcome back to my channel. So this video is aimed at students who are getting ready to begin their very first clinical lab rotation. We will get into what to expect on everything leading up to your first day. I just wanted to start with showing you guys the shirt that I'm wearing today. Think about it. Why would you be a rock star when you can be a lab scientist? My clinical preceptor gave me this shirt and I just thought it would be so cute to wear in this video. I really love the microscope on it. I'm not sure where she purchased it from. I think possibly Etsy. For those of you that are new here, I'm currently in my last semester of medical laboratory school and will be completing the rest of my clinical rotations over the next few months. But I can tell you, I was so nervous going into the hospital for the first time. Like, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to bring. I didn't really know what I was going to be doing. Like, all these things. So that's why I wanted to get this video out while my preclinical process is still very much fresh in my mind, because I did it over the summer. So hopefully everything we discussed will be helpful. I definitely would have loved to have a video like this to kind of help with my nerves. So let's get into it. We're first going to talk about the paperwork. As far as the preclinical process goes, it's very, very important to stay organized. I cannot stress that enough. There's going to be a lot of documents that you need to give to your clinical educator or your clinical coordinator, and having all this stuff organized can speed that process right along. The paperwork is all dependent on what the hospital will require of students before they can step foot into the medical lab. I was expected to have proof of immunizations. It's like Tdap and MMR and things like that. In addition to that, I had to have a background check, a drug screen test, a physical examination, a 2-step PPD, a colorblind test, a Hep B titer, and I also had to get my flu vaccine. Oh, and now there's the added requirement of being COVID vaccinated. Yeah, in addition to all that, I also had to do training modules before I was approved to go to a few of my hospital sites. So everything I just mentioned was basically the checklist that I had to go through in order to get approval from my clinical site. It really just depends on a specific hospital that will be hosting you for a clinical rotation. Again, there's gonna be a list of things they'll ask you to do, but it's very important for legalities that you get this stuff done, because if that facility is missing any documentation, they have the right to deny your clinical placement if you can't provide the paperwork. Which brings me back to the point of being organized. Make a copy of everything if you can, especially if you are in a situation like me and going to multiple hospitals. That's multiple times that these facilities will ask for the same documents for their own records. I took a picture of all of my paperwork with my phone and uploaded them to a folder on my Google Drive. So if anyone asks me for anything, boom, I got it and can pull it up really quickly, which saves me a lot of time. Okay, so after you submit your paperwork and are approved for your first rotation, this is when you start preparing for your first day. I have 4 tips that have helped me tremendously, and I call it the 4 No's. The first one is to know your stuff. My first rotation was hematology, and I spent time reviewing so that I didn't get to the hospital that first day not knowing anything. So if you have a break between classes and your rotation, this is a great time to go over everything you learned in skills lab, because you can at least be expected to do those same skills and more, since they'll also be able to teach you automation at that facility. If you have time, also look over your lecture material that you know you need to brush up on. For me, in hematology, I definitely had to spend time with them leukemias. And I mean, I'm talking just a light review. Like, even if that means you spend a day just going over this stuff so you have it fresh in your mind before you head to this department. Number 2, know your contacts. I think this is program specific, but I had to contact my clinical educator to introduce myself like a week before going to each rotation, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if every program is set up like that, but having the opportunity to introduce myself and get acquainted with them made for a very less nervous first day, because I felt way more at ease, at least talking to somebody that was in the lab that I was going to. And it was a simple, hey, I'm a student at so-and-so and will be placed at your facility starting X date for X rotation. Is there anything you'd like me to do for the first day? I received info on where I could park, where I could meet them at, what time I needed to be there, what I needed to bring, and what I would be doing that first day. So yeah, as far as point of contacts for each facility I've gone to, I needed to know my clinical educator, who was a lab manager, my preceptor, who has been the department supervisor or the leads, and my clinical coordinator, who is my program director. So it's important to have all these people's contact info in the event that you need to call them. And if you haven't gotten a hint, you need to communicate. Especially if something happens where you're running late or missing a day, like, you need to let somebody know ASAP so adjustments can be made. In my case, I would be expected to call my clinical coordinator, my clinical educator, and the department line and let them all know what's going on. I think it can also help with communication and professionalism skills in general, because I am definitely one that will email my way into anything if given an option, but not everybody checks their emails like that. So actually having to pick up the phone and talk is a chance for me to practice my soft skills. Number 3 is to know where to go. At this point, you're getting closer to that first day. I was so antsy. So if you're like me, what I suggest is to find a facility's location and parking areas. If you have time, drive to the facility's campus or the hospital's campus so you can figure out the best route to get there with traffic and all. I think it can help you feel more comfortable, at least knowing where you need to go and park at. Because half the battle for me is actually getting where I need to be that first day. All the rotations have been the same in that aspect, and I'm not even directionally challenged or anything. It's just stressful going into the unknown environment with unfamiliar faces and not knowing where I need to be. I got really lucky with my first rotation because the hospital was only 10 minutes down the street from where I used to live at, and I had been there prior, but my second rotation was an hour something away in a city that I didn't know and at a hospital that I had never even heard of. So this suggestion to locate the hospital is all dependent on if you don't know the area and you have the time to spare to visit the area, because those drives are gonna hit different. They're gonna hit way different when you're having to leave the house at the crack of dawn to report to clinicals at 6:30 or 7 a.m. or whatever time the shift starts. Once I located the hospital and parking areas, it gave me a chance to plan out my mornings, because honestly, I'm a person that loves to stay in bed as long as possible. So it's very important for me to know how long my commute is gonna be so I can time my mornings just right. Thankfully, this current rotation that I'm in and my next rotation, they're only gonna be 5 minutes away from me. So that means I will stay in bed a lot longer than I've had for the longest time. I feel like I have not had a chance to just lay in bed for months. Okay, number 4 is to know your expectations. I had 1 day of orientation for clinicals before I actually went to the hospital, if that makes sense. The program director spent that entire day going over anything and everything that was to be completed by the end of each rotation. I took this time to also set personal goals for myself on what I wanted to gain from each rotation experience. That again helped me with my nerves because I was able to at least know what was expected of me to start going to the hospitals. And I could have an idea of what I'd be doing each week as well. Because y'all, I get so stressed when I don't know what to expect. Like, the unknown is literally a trigger for me. So yeah, these are just a few tips I wanted to chat about today to help some of y'all with your preparation for clinicals. I will be making a part 2 of clinical tips for success sometime over the next few months, so stay tuned for that. If you are in clinicals or have already completed your rotations, please comment down below a tip or some words of wisdom that have helped you in clinicals. Don't forget to like this video if it was helpful. Please subscribe to my channel to keep up with my journey as a medical laboratory student. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.